What's going on, everybody? Luciano Martinez here with Remax Platinum, your your RGB strongest realtor, right? So thank you guys for being here, vlogging 23. I want to talk to you guys today. I'll try my very best to keep it as short as possible, but there is no promise of that. There is a lot of information out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there as well. So I want to do my very best to give you the gist of the information to better serve you, to better provide the information out there to you. And if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out. I'm pretty much an open book, so let me know how and what things I can do to help you out. But anyways, what are those changes? So one of the main changes, or one of the things you've probably been hearing, is about commissions. What about commissions? Who's getting paid? How are they getting paid? Is the buyer's agent, getting paid with the buyer or the seller? At the end of the day, here's the truth. It is negotiable. Everything is negotiable. Do you agree or do you not agree to blah, blah, blah? Okay. So, but before I get into that, what I want to talk to you, what one of the changes I want to talk to you about is what's happening with the offering of compensation on the MLS. That, my friends, is no longer going to be a thing. For example, if you tell me, hey, Luciano, I want you to offer X commission to the buyer's agent. Great. I am not going to be able to put that no more on the MLS as an offer of compensation to the buyer's agent. The buyer's agent is going to have to ask me, even though you already told me, hey, Luciano, it's okay for you to offer a compensation or offer a percentage. Great. But the buyer's agent is going to have to ask me and try and negotiate that on their behalf, right? So the offer of compensation is no longer going to be allowed on the MLS, multiple listing service, anymore. So without further ado, let's go ahead and go over some of these changes and how they're going to affect sellers and buyers. And if you have any questions or thoughts or comments, feel free to comment in the YouTube channel, or feel free to reach out. You can shoot me a text. Got my information on the description. But let's go ahead and check it out. So, listing agreement, you have the residential real estate listing agreement, exclusive right to sell. Some of the stuff is stayed the same. Some of the paragraphs stayed the same, but what I want to talk to you guys is about the compensation, how this is going to affect sellers and affect buyers. So the main change is paragraph 5. Paragraph 5 says compensation, broker compensation, or the sharing of compensation. Go ahead and highlight this. Or the sharing of compensation between brokers is not set by law nor fixed, controlled, recommended, or suggested by the Association of Realtors, MLS, or any listing service. Broker compensation is fully negotiable. Brokers independently determine their fees. In other words, this whole idea that commissions were always a standard fee, that's, by the way, never true. You could always negotiate your commission. But I think there was a very stigma feeling or sensation that all agents charge the same amount. That is not true. Every agent, is charged, or or brokerage charges independently their fees, right? So keep that in mind. You can negotiate your commission. All right. That being said, you can negotiate your commission. You can negotiate your commission. I'm sorry, I'm saying that 2 or 3 times. I'm saying it with a purpose, with a meaning. At the end of the day, you have to agree to what the listing agent is, what their terms are. And vice versa. The listing agent has to agree to what your terms are. You all have to find a mutual middle ground, middle point where both of you, the seller and the listing agent, are going to be happy with the terms. That's what I'm trying to say by fully negotiable. If you say, hey, Mr. Agent, if you're the seller, you say, hey, Mr. Agent, Mr. Seller Agent, listing agent, I want to sell my house, at $300,000, but I only want to pay X percent. Okay, Mr. Seller, X percent it is. Boom, we agreed to something, right? Or, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm the listing agent. By the way, I charge Y percent to be able to do the full spectrum of my services. Mr. Seller, boom, I agreed to the Y percentage. Great. Go. That's what I mean. Both parties mutually agreed to the commission, right? Okay, great. Now let's talk about the situation where um you know we don't agree. Okay, the seller, Mr. Seller says, I don't want to pay Y%. Okay, well, what do you want to pay? I want to pay Z%. Okay. Well, me, the listing agent, want to charge Y%. That is what I charge. And again, this is what I'm talking about. You have to mutually agree. Both you, the seller, and the listing agent are going to figure out a happy middle ground for both you and that person. You want to find, okay, I'm willing to list the property for XYZ%. You are the seller. Do you agree to sell your property at XYZ%? You gotta find that middle ground. That's what this paragraph is saying right here in bold. Fully negotiable. At the end of the day, you don't have to agree. You, the seller, do not have to agree to the listing agent's term. And the listing agent's term, at the end of the day, does not have to agree to the seller's term. You can negotiate that. It's negotiable. That's what negotiation means. Everybody can put their 2 cents in. Now, if you read further, it says complete either 5A or 5B. Here's another main change. Again, negotiable. I'm going to move my paragraph up here. Negotiable. My video, right? You have broker's fee with compensation for other broker, or broker's fee without compensation for other broker. Do you, the seller, want to sell your home and offer compensation to the buyer's agent? Or do you, the seller, not want to offer any compensation to the buyer's agent? What does that mean? If I'm the listing agent and I tell you, hey, by the way, Mr. Seller, the chances are that there is another agent that is going to be representing the buyer. Do we want to offer them compensation? You can say yes, you can say no. Totally up to you. But again, the agent can say, if you say no, the agent can come and tell you, well, I don't agree to those terms. You have to agree. You have to agree. So, paragraph 5A says right here, this paragraph 5A includes payment of compensation to another broker working with the buyer. Seller authorizes broker to compensate the other broker as indicated below. Again, if I'm charging you X%, okay, how much am I going to pay out to that other broker? Normally, typically, if I'm charging X%, I like to be fair and equal, and out of my commission, offer a half not the half percent, but half of my commission to the other side. I think it's fair, so that's what I would put right there. You do not have to agree to that. On the flip side, from section 2 right here, from amounts stated in, that's what I was saying. If I charge you X%, put X% right here, right? And then the other part right here that says, how much of that commission that I charge you, X%, are you willing to give to the buyers or compensate the buyer's agent? Again, this is where you and the agent kind of negotiate as well. Hey, Mr. Seller, I'm charging you XYZ. I think it's fair to offer from my commission XYZ half of that commission, or a third of that commission, or a quarter of that commission to the buyer's agent. You don't have to agree. You guys can negotiate that. Now, moving forward to paragraph 5B, broker's fee without compensation to the other broker. Okay, so what does that mean? You're not going to pay the other broker, the buyer's agent. So if I charged you, for example, XYZ amount, and you say, hey, I don't want to charge, I don't want to pay for, I want you to keep your full XYZ amount. I don't want you to give XYZ to divided by 2 to the other agent, or divided by 3 to the other agent. That's totally up to you. Again, it's negotiable. You can negotiate that with the agent, the listing agent, but that's between you and the listing agent who shows up to your house, and you guys negotiate. Does that agent want to do what do you guys, what's the agreement there, right? So make sure you guys negotiate that. That's for you guys to negotiate. And that's one of the main changes here, right? And then there's a special note right here: seller paying buyer's expenses in addition to to paying the above broker's fees. Seller may be asked by a buyer to contribute to an amount towards buyer's expenses. such as buyer's broker's fees or expenses payable by buyer under sales contract. See paragraph 11F regarding broker's authority to disclose possible seller contribution. So let's go to 11F real quickly. And all that means is, okay, look, we're the seller is give me a second, let's go to paragraph 11B. 11F, I mean. 11F, right here. Seller authorizes or does not authorize brokers to share with other brokers and prospective buyers that seller will consider contributing an amount towards buyer's expenses, such as buyer's broker's fees or other expenses payable by buyer under a sales contract. Seller is not obligated to pay any specific amount and has the sole discretion to determine the amount seller will pay towards buyer's expenses during negotiations with the buyer. Okay, so let's just say you as a seller, you don't want to pay for a buyer's agent. Cool. And your agent agreed to that. Great. Keep in mind, the buyer's agent or the buyer, if there's a buyer's broker, still may come in and ask for compensation, whether it's straight up, hey, can you guys offer me some more compensation? Or maybe they come back and say, hey, look, that's fine, no buyer's agent compensation, but can you guys help my buyer with some closing concessions, with some closing costs, with some seller concessions? And again, you can authorize your agent, your listing agent, to disclose, hey, yeah, we're willing to negotiate that, or hey, no, we're not willing to negotiate or not disclose that, right? So you're either allowing him to disclose that information that you're willing to negotiate, or you're not allowing him to disclose that you're willing. But they can still bring in a buyer, can still come and ask. At the end of the day, we're negotiating. That's the name of the game, right, baby? We're negotiating as much as we can with each other. So keep those things in mind. Now, moving forward, I do want to talk to the other side of all this. I want to talk about the buyer side. So starting August 17th, realtors or real estate agents, realtors will not be allowed to show a home without a buyer's rep agreement. Okay, so there are two forms for this, and I highly recommend that if you are a buyer or someone looking to purchase a home, get with an agent, get a consultation going, talk about the long form, talk about the short form. Maybe you are a buyer who's just in the precipice of purchasing a home, right? And maybe you're 4 months, but you want to get your feet wet. Maybe you want to find out, okay, what are the things that I'm looking for in a home? Some agents like to do that. I like to do that. I like to show home 3 or 4 homes, talk to my agents and be like, hey, Mr. Buyer, what are the things that you're looking for in a home? You've already walked 2 or 3 homes. What are the things that you like, that you didn't like, so that we can start narrowing it down? Maybe you're 4 or 5 months away from purchasing a home, but we can start talking about what it is that you do like, what you don't like. Maybe after you see 2, 3, or 4 homes, you are ready, right? But again, starting August 17th, we're not going to be allowed to show you these homes unless you have a buyer's rep agreement. So you have the long form and you have the short form. We're going to talk about the short form real quickly. Short form is 1 pager. Let me go ahead and zoom out just real quick. Short form is a 1 pager, talks about the parties, the appointments, definitions, term. How long is this term? Maybe it's for a day, maybe it's for a week, maybe it's for a month. Totally up to you and your agent, right? But broker compensation. So right here, broker obligations. Actually, I lied. Let me zoom in real quick. Oh, there you go. Broker obligations. Broker must comply with minimum duties as required by law. Broker may represent other prospective buyers or tenants who may seek to acquire the same property as client. There is such a thing as full services or showing services. Hey, Mr. Buyer, I realize that you want to see a house, but you're not 100% ready to purchase a house, but you want to see a house. So we can sign this form right here. It's a short form. We sign it. We check showing services, and if the thing is that if you read right here, paragraph 6, 7, and 8 do not apply. Broker will provide client with access to the properties in the market area. Client will pay the broker a blank fee. That's negotiable, by the way. Negotiated, okay? Or we're not working for free, right? So, okay, so if I'm going to open 5, 10 doors for you, but you're not going to purchase any of the homes, this is what we talk about. Look, I charge X amount of money for opening the doors. Because what happens if you use another agent? So again, this is what this does right here. It protects the agent, and it protects the buyer right here, right? So make sure you read this. Now, what's full services? Full services means everything from, okay, we're gonna have a 6 month agreement right here. I'm gonna do full services. I think my recommendation is, if you're gonna want the full services, use a long form. I think this is more for hey, I just want to see this house today because I thought it was interesting. Let's go ahead and check off showing services. Charge $100 to open the door. Charge $200 to open the door. Negotiate it, right? What do you charge me to open the door? So right here, whatever the amount is, it's negotiable between you and the agent. Keep that in mind. Always, I said $100, but keep it in mind. It's negotiable between you and the agent. And moving forward, broker's compensation. So if we show you 4, 5, 6 houses, broker's compensation, when earned and payable, client will pay broker. If it's a purchase, how much percentage of the sales price? If it's uh, oh, by the way, if we're doing showing services, paragraph 7 does not apply. So keep that in mind. So 6, 7, and 8. So we're just doing showing services. That's per door, it looks like. And if we're doing a full service, then we're applying 6, 7, and 8, right? So if we're doing full services, you're charging X amount of money for being able to help you with buyers offering, right? So another thing to keep in mind, um, real quickly, and this is why I like the long form. Earned and payable. Earned and payable. Brokers' fees are earned when client enters into a contract to acquire the property in the market area during the term. Brokers' fees are payable either during the term or after it ends, upon the earlier of the closing of a transaction to acquire property, or two, clients breach a contract to acquire property in the market area. Closing means the date legal title to a property is conveyed to a client, or the date client enters into binding lease. Source of payment. This is real big. We just talked about compensation from the listing side. So, okay, how does the buyer's agent get paid? Broker may receive compensation from the seller, landlord, or their agents. Broker will credit any such compensation towards compensation due to broker under this agreement. What does that mean? Say you and I come into an agreement and say, hey, we're gonna do this for Y percent. Cool. We're gonna do this for Y percent. Full services, great. The listing agent is only paying me, I don't know, X percent. So X percent is less than Y percent, but you and I have an agreement of Y percent. So that means you're gonna have to bridge the gap. But they paid me the X percent, so bridge the gap. That's what that means. I'm gonna seek my best to get compensation from this side. I need you to bridge the gap. Again, this is negotiable with you and your buyer's agent. What is it that you're comfortable with on the worst case scenario that, hey, these the selling side is not providing any compensation to your buyer's agent? Okay, what is it? I'm willing. I can pay a Y percent, Mr. Agent. Great. Then let's sign this paper, Mr. Agent. I cannot afford Y percent. Great. Okay, what can you afford? X percent. Okay, let's go to X percent. It's negotiable. Keep in mind, all of this is negotiable. That's the key takeaway. All right. Intermediary just means that there may be a home that's listed in the same brokerage office. So please keep in mind that does happen. Read that paragraph carefully. But let's go back to the long form. I like the long form a little bit more. If we're going to provide full services, I would like for you as a buyer to be fully protected, right? So we talk about being the residential buyer tenant representation agreement form, the long form. It's very similar. It's got a few more pages. It's got 1 out of 5. It's got 5 pages. The other one was a 1-pager. Talk about parties, how long we're gonna do this for. We're gonna do a 6-month agreement. I think this might be a more appropriate form to use. Broker compensation, paragraph number 7. That's the good one right here. Okay. Broker compensation or the sharing of compensation between brokers is not set by law nor fixed, controlled, recommended, or suggested by the Association of Realtors, MLS, or any listing service. Broker compensation is fully negotiable. Brokers independently determine their fees. Broker is prohibited from receiving compensation from broker services from any source that exceeds the amount stated in this agreement. Let's put this into an example. For example purposes only. Okay. If I charge you 3% and you say, yeah, I'll do 3%, but the listing agents offer me 4%. By the way, you just got you just got some good services or free services, right? Because they're paying me 4%, but guess what? They cannot pay me 4% because you and I agreed to 3%. Okay, that's what that means. If you and I agreed to 3%, that's as much money as I'm going to make. 3%. That's just for example purposes. Okay, please don't hunt me. Anyways, broker's fee. When earned and payable, client will pay broker purchases X amount of the sales price. Or, and I forgot to mention the listing agreement, you can opt in for a flat fee. If agents are out there doing this for a flat fee, then it may be possible that you see a flat a number here for instead of a percentage. Okay, so keep that in mind. Leases as well, you can negotiate that with your agents. Source of compensation, this is a good one right here. Make sure we read this paragraph. Broker will seek to obtain payment of the fee specified in paragraph 7a. 7a is this one right here. First, from the seller, the landlord, or their agents. If such persons refuse or fail to pay the broker the amount specified, client will pay the broker the amount specified less any amounts brokers receives from such person. Example, again, just an example. If you and I come into an agreement for 3% of the sales price, okay, and the listing agent offers me 2%. Hey, by the way, Mr. Buyer, they only offered me 2%. You and I have an agreement here for 3%. I need you to bridge the gap. Boom. That's how that works. Again, just an example. Please don't go hunting me. I really appreciate that. So, yeah, anyways, those are like the main changes of the representation agreements, right? There's a couple of other changes, but those are the changes that I wanted to talk to you about. Take a minute real quickly to just go over those changes. If you have any questions, we can get together. We can talk about these changes, how it's going to affect you as a seller, how it's going to affect you as a buyer. Because like I said, at the end of the day, everything is negotiable. You can say yes, you can say no, you can say a counter, you can bring in another counter. Between you and the listing agent, you guys can negotiate what you think is fair. Between you and the buyer's agent, you can negotiate what you guys think is fair. All right. Now, there's a lot of changes here. I think everybody's going to be learning how to navigate all this all at once, learning together. So I think at the end of the day, yes, we can negotiate everything, but be patient with each other as well, right? In regards that, okay, hey, look, I understand that you want to charge X%, but I like what you're saying. I like what you're doing. I want to go talk to another agent just to get a second opinion, and go get that second opinion. Okay, go get that third opinion. Okay, because at the end of the day, what's best for you, the client, that's important. If maybe working with me isn't the best, okay, go work with another agent. Get that second opinion, get that third opinion, and take it from there. Anyways, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. My number is 956-476-2925. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for watching another vlog from the RGB Strongest Realtor. You have a good one.